Here we go. Hello and welcome back to the 7 Minutes Podcast. Did I get that name right? I think I did.
Yep.
I am Zack, and I am here at a table joined by, going counterclockwise.
Oh, that's me.
Angie's next.
Yeah. Angie.
Angie, right?
Robert. Dom here.
Cool. It has been a while. We are getting an episode in shortly before the launch of the Switch 2.
Mm-hmm.
And this time we are going to be looking back at the original Switch, thoughts and feelings about that. We do also have a special Nintendo Store San Francisco segment lined up. But before we get there, let's talk about what we've been playing since the last time we recorded. Angie, let's start with you.
Okay. It hasn't been much because it actually hasn't been that long since we recorded, which is a nice change. Been playing a lot of Hello Kitty Island Adventure. It had a substantial update, which I wasn't expecting. It seems like they've made a few quality of life issues. They still haven't fixed the stuttering problem, which, whatever. But they did increase substantially the availability of resources on the island. So like the materials that you can pick up, which is nice because there are a lot of things to do with particular resources. So you can make pieces of furniture, you can make like food recipes, etc. And with the amount of items of like each resource that you could get before, it was just kind of, it wasn't impossible. It was going to take you days, like many real world days to be able to like make these things. And so I think someone at Sunblink was like, maybe we should actually adjust this. And I think, again, and I mentioned this in my Nintendo Joe review, and I mentioned it on the podcast, that this is just yet another instance of like not really thinking about transferring this game from like mobile or like Apple Arcade to console. And I think this was just them kind of realizing in retrospect, like we need to adjust this game in a few different ways to the console experience. So that was nice. Because I just turned on the game one day recently, and it took forever for like an update. And I was like, okay, I guess there's like more content than I realized. And then I turned it on, and I was like, wow, what's with all of the like sticks and balls of rubber and sand dollars and all these, like way more. Like there's like 3 of everything, on the ground instead of just like one at a time. And it was nice. It's a nice change. It is currently the month of Meh on the island.
Is it actually the month of Meh?
Yes, because it's like the Gudetama month, and
okay.
He's Meh. As
Not the most enthusiastic Sanrio character.
Yes, so there's a bunch of like eggs that you can find on the island, and you can find there's like this freak named Nisetama or Nisetama-san, and I don't know, like, because I'm not like a huge Gudetama fan. Because like I'm not really a fan of like his butt, and like they like to focus on his butt a lot, and I think it's a little weird. So I don't really know what this like Nisetama dude has to do with like the Gudetama lore, but you can like find him on the island, and I don't know, he's just like this kind of like weird pervert in like a weird like yellow bodysuit, and like you just have to find him, and anyway,
He's just like an imposter Gudetama.
I don't know what he has to do with Gudetama, but like you find him every day and you get a reward for finding him. But so the month of Meh is almost over, but I'm getting cool Gudetama furniture and stuff for it. So I'm like, so it's an incentive at least.
Is it all lazy furniture? Like throw rugs and beanbag pillows? It
is Gudetama themed furniture. So there's like a bed. It's like egg themed. So like egg and bacon. So that's been cool. So I've been playing a lot of that. And then I started Clair Obscur. And I won't get too much into it. You guys will have plenty more to say because all of you either beat it or are close to beating it. I would just say of the 4 of us, I'm definitely the least enthusiastic about it. I don't hate it. I do not hate this game. Like, I will make that clear. It's still, not 100% clicking for me, and I think it's just the cast. Because the combat is really fun. Really fun. Like, it's a good challenge. I'm just playing on, like, the regular difficulty right now. I know, like, everyone kind of started on different difficulties. It's a really good challenge. I do like... I'm at the point where I just got out of the, like, fake ocean, and I'm going into the forest where the... what are those creatures called?
Gestrels?
Yeah, the Gestral forest. I'm, like, just about to get in there. It was a very, like, visually interesting place, you know, being underwater, but almost not. That was very interesting. The mansion was interesting. What's that? The groundskeeper's name?
The curator.
Yeah, the curator is really off-putting in a very, very cool way. I just haven't really felt like I've cared very much about any of the characters yet. Nobody's really given me much of a reason to care.
Were you not invested in the Gustav and Sophie relationship in the prologue?
No, and I'm not invested in it yet. I'm not saying that I won't, or I don't think that I will be. I'm still open to it. I haven't closed myself off. I just have not yet felt invested in these characters. I do like Lune. I don't... even with her, I don't feel like overly invested in her yet. But in terms of her combat, I think that she's very fun. I do like the elemental aspects of her combat. I really do like the dodging and parrying system. I'm much better at dodging than I am at parrying. Not really sure why. I just am. But
You know, I think about it, like the dodge and parry, or like parry-based JRPGs is like close to 100% of the turn-based JRPGs you've played, because you've played like the Mario games, right?
Yeah.
Which I think are an influence here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting premise, interesting story. I'm definitely still invested in it. I'm still committed to the game, committed to moving forward with the story, because I'm very curious about how it's going to play out. Just like setting foot on the island and seeing what happened on the island. I mean, that was pretty shocking. Seeing the remnants of the previous expeditions and finding the little, environmental storytelling aspects that you come across that tell the story of their demise and what happened to them. All super interesting. So I'm definitely invested. I just haven't felt as enthusiastic as everyone else here about it. But like I said, I would not describe myself as disliking this game. I'm just a little lukewarm on it right now.
It's rare that we find a game that all of us play, even, much less all enjoy. So I think it's still, to Clair Obscur's credit, that it's had this penetration across the table.
Yeah,
That's true.
because I know that, like, thinking about similar games, we all played like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. At different times, we all, I think... Have you played Yakuza Zero, Dom?
Not all the way through.
No.
I started it.
And then, did you play Witcher 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so at different times, we've all played those. But, like, the only one I can think of where we all, like, pretty much played it at the same time was
Tears
and
Yep.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So it has been a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of what I've been playing recently.
That's it for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Robert.
Okay, so I've definitely been playing Clair Obscur. I'm much warmer on it. I think that its combat system's really, really well done. Obviously, there's been other RPGs that incorporate like a timing mechanic, but it's basically grown-up Mario RPG. I mean, that's what it feels like, where your attacks are strengthened if you get the timing down. There's like these quick time events that you do to bolster your strikes. You also have the parry and dodge mechanics. I assume my brother-in-law Zack here was going to be playing it on the highest difficulty level, so I was like, I can't not play it at the highest difficulty level then. So I've been playing it on hard, and I've been insisting on parrying everything instead of dodging. And I think it's way more satisfying playing it this way. You don't have to, but it makes everything just feel so much more rewarding when you win battles. Especially because I don't think there's been a single battle yet where it's felt like the game was being cheap. If I'm dying, I'm just consistently like, I know what I did wrong. It's like my timing was off or whatever. I'm not recognizing a pattern a certain way. But, once you get that pattern down and then you're able to engage, it's really, really fun. The Picto system, which is like how you upgrade your characters, give them different buffs and debuffs, that's really well done. Visually, it's very impressive. For those that don't know, this is like a 30-some-odd person team. A lot of them are like ex-Ubisoft workers. And this feels like a pretty close to just a AAA product. It's incredibly well done. I like the kind of French aspects that are thrown in, the use of language. You can feel it in the design of things, especially like a lot of the enemies. Of course, there's a mime. There's mimes that you can fight, but other enemies as well. I don't know. It's one of those things that's a little hard to put a finger on, but like it feels like it comes from a different cultural mindset in terms of like the visual aspects. There's for example, there's one area you go where there's a lot of like fabric, and the fabric feels very Parisian in terms of like the patterns and everything. So
have you met there's like the mime enemies that are hidden in some zones, but there's also ones that are called pétanque that are like, they're these round things that run away from you. You have to corner them.
Oh yeah,
and they throw a bunch of balls at you when you fight them, right? So there is a French equivalent of bocce ball called pétanque. Which is what like that's like also like an excessively gratuitously French inclusion in the game.
There you go. I thought, those things are a pain in the ass to fight too. Those are fun. So yeah, it's funny to me just to think that AAA abandoned the turn-based RPG mechanics like a while ago. Not completely, obviously those games still exist, but like for these sort of 3D, very elaborate productions, you don't really see the turn-based as much. And all it took was a couple of tweaks that, Nintendo did like 30 years ago to make turn-based just as engaging as like real-time combat. So it's incredibly well done. And then in terms of the characters and all that, I was very pleased because like I was expecting to be nauseated because that's just how modern day can be when it comes to storytelling. But instead, everyone's an interesting character. The male lead in the game is allowed to be the leader without having to diminish him or say how terrible he is because he's a guy, or it's like he's always the butt of every joke. Just like this generic crap that you get from so many of these contemporary writers. Instead, everyone's just treated with respect. It's like, oh yeah, that's not hard to do, and it's amazing what a difference it makes because now I'm caring about every character and want to see what happens with everybody. And then the kind of conceit of the game, how these characters are fighting to stay alive. They can only live to a certain age. I found that kind of interesting and like want to know like what is the origin of all this? Why is it happening? So it's really good. Like at least up to this point, it might be my game of the year. But I think we still have Prime coming out this year, right? Metroid Prime?
Mm-hmm. Prime 4.
And a couple others. So, it might not end up being my game of the year, but at this moment in May, it is. And then beyond that, I did fire up Doom, The Dark Ages. It's been good so far. I think it's a shame it doesn't seem like it's selling very well. They're doing that new thing where they tell you it has, X number of players, which doesn't mean units sold. It's like an attempt to make engagement sound really positive. And if 3 million people are playing it, that's cool. But at the end of the day, it's like sales are what matter the most. And it seems like Doom's not selling well, which kind of sucks. But it might be because of the $70 price point, because it's $69.99. That's enough out of me. We have to move on.
I think I said last time, but I don't remember. I beat Split Fiction. I actually beat it twice. And I'm going to have a tough time deciding if it's going to be Split Fiction or Clair Obscur probably for my game of the year. The game... The platforming and everything was super good, and every level kept me interested. Like there was always something different about every level, all the way up to the end. And then if you played the game, that last level is insane. Like it's absolutely crazy. Such a good game, well done by them. They're like 3 for 3 on these 2-player co-op adventures. They're just
an interesting niche.
Yeah, it's awesome. They must like those couch co-op, growing up playing those probably. But yeah, I'd say, we still got to play it, Rob. You said you were going to play with me when Switch 2 comes out. Hopefully is it a launch title for Switch 2?
I'm not sure if it's a launch title or not. The look.
So besides that, of course, I'm playing Clair Obscur like everybody else. I'm still early. I just finished Act 1. I'm kind of like probably maybe 2-3 hours into Act 2. And pretty much what you and Rob said, I agree with. I'm a big fan of what they're doing graphically in the game. The environments are beautiful. I'm playing on the Pro, and I'm playing on Performance mode. Mm-hmm. And it's just smooth as butter, even with all the... as far as I can tell, there's ray tracing even on Performance mode. The Unreal Engine 5 technology is just insane. This is like one of the games that uses it that I'm not seeing no issues with. It's just so smooth. The lighting's excellent. There's a few areas where it's like super pitch black. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, the weird lighting problems.
Yeah, there's a few here and there.
That's totally an Unreal thing, by the way.
Oh, really?
When I've had like students making games, it's like you'll sit and you'll set up an environment and you're just like, why is everything dark? And like you try to reposition and it's just, I think it was something like that. But
yeah. I will disagree with Angie. I'm pretty invested in the characters like right away. I think the prologue was just excellent. It set the tone. And then if you take your time with the prologue, which I'm sure you did, and go around talking and you sort of understand what's happening right away, like with the whole, countdown of the paintress, everybody's going to die if you're older. Not a spoiler. It's like one of the first things you learn.
Oh, yeah.
And then, Gustav and Sophie from the beginning when, Mael and him are talking, it's like, hey, now's your chance. You got to express. You got to tell her. And that, and then once they get to what they call it, is it the Gomage?
Gomage, yeah.
At that, and spoilers, for anybody out there listening, but when they're watching the sunset or whatever, it's pretty intense. Like, I was like, oh, this is the prologue? This is going to be a hell of a game, I think.
Yeah.
And then once you get to Act 1, there's a few story elements that are just, very unexpected and well done. The writing's really good. The character development to me is really good. As far as the combat goes, I agree with you and Rob. I love the fact that it's turn-based, but not really, because the parrying and dodging is just so fun and a good touch. I'm playing on regular, and I'm having difficulty. There's some spikes. So I applaud you, Rob, for playing the whole game on hard. Yeah. So do they hit harder on hard, or is it?
It feels like they do. Basically, if you miss, especially a parry, because dodges are more forgiving.
Yeah.
But that's the other part is that I'm trying not to dodge. Like I almost never dodge. So based on that, it's like if I get the parrying wrong, it takes like just a couple hits usually, and I'm dead or like really low on health.
Yeah, they hit harder, and the timing is a little tighter too.
Yeah.
Oh, the timing's tighter. Oh, damn. Yeah. See, I love getting perfect dodges. That's enough for me. But
me too.
I do dodges in the beginning to try and get the sense of these enemies because for some reason in the beginning, their attacks seemed really delayed. Like I felt like I was getting pump faked like 20 times.
I agree.
Especially on the multi combos and stuff. So dodging was like, there's no way I could just come out, the gates parry the whole time. That's crazy, Rob.
Yeah.
You're a beast.
Yeah, I had to be patient. I had to really just be patient and learn the timing to get those perfect dodges. Because I also was like, I'm sorry, this is. Hang on a second. Yeah. The timing is a little weird.
I think it's funny in the beginning when you're choosing your difficulty. The one that I'm playing with, it says that dodges and parries are not necessary. They're sure necessary.
You don't have to dodge and parry 100% of hits, but you do need to be able.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
You gotta be confident doing so.
Yeah.
Well, some of the stuff in the game, like the patonk or whatever, if you can't do parrying in particular, you're not gonna be able to beat them.
Right.
So like the game, and the cool thing too is that like if you manage to learn the perfect dodge timing, that is the parrying timing.
Is, yeah.
So if you can figure that out and then you get comfortable with certain enemies, because the game, manages to have a decent variety of enemies, but there's also not like a ton of them. So it's enough of a roster that you can learn everyone and still feel engaged with every battle without it feeling redundant. But yeah, if you're using the dodge to learn the timing and you're like, okay, I keep getting perfect, that means I could parry, you can extrapolate that into having more offense in your defense, basically. So.
Yeah, agreed. And then I think the last point I'll make is I really, really like the whole Picto and Lumina skill tree system thing they got going. That I can, I have one Picto, but once you turn it into a Lumina, I can have all my characters have the same thing. One of the first things you get is the dodger or whatever. So every perfect dodge, you get an ability point. And having that on everybody for one Lumina point, it's like a no-brainer. So I'm just loving that. You get used to one fighting style, and then you come across a rare Picto, and you get to do that. So, yeah, I feel like all the characters so far I've unlocked, you can make a party of whoever you want, and I think you have success. It's kind of just what you prefer. So, yeah, they did their thing for this game for sure. Other than that, I will start Doom after Claire, and I threw on South of Midnight just for the hell of it. It's okay so far. I'm not like blown away in any regard, but it's a fun platformer, third person action game. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, it seemed like it was getting good enough reviews, but also like not a super like mechanical game. Just kind of like if you like the Southern Gothic vibe, it's probably a good time.
Yeah, the art style is pretty cool. I don't know how I feel about the stop frame. I don't know how to put it. Like it almost skips frames during cutscenes and stuff like that. But it's fine. It runs smooth enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool.
One thing that you mentioned, Dom, about how Claire starts with this pretty intense opening, I thought that was actually pretty cool because it sets the tone for the rest of the game, where it's basically just like, don't really get attached to anybody. Because
it's super depressing too.
Yeah, where it's just like, these characters, any one of these characters might not survive 15 minutes into the game.
Right.
2 hours into the game. So
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
They even like stress that verbatim, and they don't just show you like that early dialogue between Lune and Gustav where she's like, when one falls, not if.
Yeah.
When.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
People gonna die.
Yeah. So
Plus, like so many movies and games and everything, they try to undercut. It's that MCU humor. It's like every time something serious happens, it's like funny joke, to kill the tension. And instead, this game just lets stuff linger. And like it's like, yeah, that's called good storytelling.
Yeah.
Like I don't need to feel great every
Absolutely.
second. It's like you should feel some emotion, and that is how you become more attached. Because it's like, oh, some terrible shit just happened.
Yeah.
Because also, just a side note, has anyone figured out why Charlie Cox is playing the role of Robert Pattinson in this game? Because he looks exactly like him.
He doesn't look exactly like him. He looks similar.
When I saw the character model, I couldn't remember it was Charlie Cox that was the voice actor, right? Because I knew there were famous people in the game. And I'm like, oh, I guess it's Robert Pattinson. And I'm like, his voice doesn't sound right. And then I read later, I was like, oh, it's Charlie Cox. I'm like, they had to. I bet someone was banking on it. They were like, we've got Robert locked up. He's going to be the lead. And then it's just like, oh, well, I guess Charlie can do it. But anyway, that whole opening that we talked about where it sets up what the gommage is.
And that led to the beach scene. That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole thing.
No, seriously, you lose Sophie, and then it's
Yeah.
like, oh, but this is gonna happen. It's like,
Yeah.
holy shit!
and you were just talking with those people and getting to know them like
Yeah.
5 minutes before.
Yep.
I remember after that beach scene in my job, I was just like, what the heck just happened? Like, it was pretty crazy.
I'm not gonna lie, honestly, I was like, all right, I really didn't like any of those people anyway.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a relief. It's
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Good riddance.
Most of them, you do get the sense that's like, oh, obviously I'm not going to be traveling with a party of like 16 people,
Yes,
right?
somebody's
so
gonna
either
go.
something's going to happen, or there's going to be like A, B, C, D teams, and I'm just going to be like playing as one of those.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I do remember thinking like, that character's got an interesting design with her midriff exposed. I bet she's coming back.
Yeah. Oh, that character isn't wearing shoes. I bet she's coming
Yeah.
back. Yeah. Oh, she floats on the ground. I bet
I sort of
she's
felt
coming
like it was in the beginning when everybody's still alive. It almost felt like, in Harry Potter, how you have your house. Mm-hmm. It felt like you're just all part of like, I was like team whatever,
Yeah.
Gryffindor or whatever. and everybody's on my team, and we're going against like the others, and they all died.
Yeah. They all died.
Worst Quidditch match ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Dom, was that all for what you've been playing? Or?
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead, Zach.
So last time we recorded, I was partway through, not that far through, Assassin's Creed Shadows. At the time, I had not even unlocked Yasuke yet. I have now beaten Assassin's Creed Shadows. I have like some open world forts I haven't done, but otherwise pretty much fully rinsed that game. I think it was, in the end, very good. It has... I will stand by, I think, what I said earlier, which is that it has the best stealth gameplay in the Assassin's Creed series. Very satisfying, especially with Naue. Yasuke, you can play him in stealth, but it's really like sniper stealth, like you're like taking people down at range with like bows or guns. So it's a different vibe and not really what I wanted. The story is weird because it starts very strong. I would say like the first act of the game, where you get introduced to Yasuke and then introduced to Naue, is very good. And then the second act of the game, where it gets more like focused on the open world and a bunch of individual targets, it's not that it loses the plot. Like I can understand how everything connects to the larger themes, but it's much less engaging because it's just kind of a consequence of being able to do all these little isolated stories in any order. They've had this problem. Assassin's Creed has had this problem since Origins. Before that, at least, even if you had like a relatively open world that you could explore, the main story beats still happened like number 1, the number 2, the number 3, the number 4, and now it's like after the intro, you can do almost everything until the very finale of the game in any order.
Valhalla was a little linear, wasn't it, for the story for the most part, or no?
There's like, how these work is like, there's like a couple acts, and like within each act, you can do the different parts. And like, you got to beat these 4 robot masters before you can go to Dr. Wily's castle, is how they structure the story. And then there's like another 4 robot masters and then another Dr. Wily's castle.
Got it.
And it just means that you can't have a story really... You can't have the characters or story really do much development over the course of the game because you don't know what's going to happen in what order. It's all so episodic. I wish they wouldn't do that. And it does damage the story in the second act of the game. The third act, when it's coming to a climax, is actually really good again. But then the very end feels like, it's like, well, are they saving something for DLC? Like it just ends very abruptly when it's at a point where it feels like the premise has gotten interesting. So hopefully... This is always my hope for DLC, and it like almost never happens, is that the DLC follows on from the main story. A lot of the time, DLC is like, you can start it whenever, and you can do it like after you finish the story or whenever. And so it's also off in its own pocket. This isn't even just an Assassin's Creed problem. Like most DLC is made this way. I wish they just let the DLC serve as a sequel, and especially for Assassin's Creed Shadows, because I think like it's got a good premise, and there's a lot of like Japanese Sengoku era history left to tell. Having said that, I am still pretty positive on the game, and I'm not... I would say, at this point, I would say Rise of the Ronin is my favorite of this sub-genre of like open world samurai Japan games. But I'm a little torn between Ghost of Tsushima and this one. I think Tsushima has a better like grip on its story throughout the duration of the game, but the stealth in Assassin's Creed Shadows is just very, very good. I was happy with that. I did also, like everyone else at this table, play Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Beat it, at least the main story, like rolled credits. I liked it enough that when I finished it, I meant to go back and do more like side objectives and et cetera, and maybe do New Game Plus. But as time passed, I kind of found myself not wanting to go back to it. I'm still not sure entirely, but without spoiling anything, like the late game does change your character's relationship to the world in a way that ended up making me feel very differently about the game than I did when I was in the middle of it. Trying to keep that as vague as I can. And I really enjoyed the game. For all the reasons people are saying, like the atmosphere, the visuals, the music. I loved the characters. Going through the game, Mayel in particular, like really stood out to me as someone I really liked. and I was super gripped by the story the whole time I was going through the game. The combat, was taking cues from like Lost Odyssey and Sekiro, totally worked for me. And the Picto Lumina system, I do have criticism about. I think that menu needs work for like searching and assigning luminas.
It specifically doesn't show you offensive, right? Like it's like defense something something, and then like I think no offense. And
a good filter would help a lot.
Yeah.
And then
Loadouts would be good too.
yeah, that would be. And then also, I still had trouble figuring out who was equipped with what.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little squares show you, but it's a little odd. And
Yeah, the little squares with a character face on it.
Yeah.
Or like if you want to just dump a lumina, because there's like the 3 primary lumina and then the sub ones that use up like the points.
Yeah, 3 Pictos.
Yeah. So I'm just, but like there's times I'm going through the big menu of them and I'm like, okay, I just want to ditch this one. And it goes, oh, this one's being like whatever. I'm like, okay, just let me ditch it. Like, why can't I just get rid of it?
Agreed.
Yeah. So there's like some minor quality of life improvements they could make, but I was very positive on the game. While I was playing it, I thought, this seems like it's going to unseat Dynasty Warriors Origins as my favorite game of the year. And as I'm sitting with it more, I'm less sure. I still might go back to it more, and this would be like a hearty recommendation for anyone.
Oh yeah.
I loved it, but I don't know. The ending just didn't quite sit right for me. I'm curious to see how the rest of you feel about it down the line. Then I've previously played Final Fantasy V, like all the other Final Fantasy games. But for Final Fantasy V, there is a fairly well-known kind of challenge run called a 4-job Fiesta. This is a Final Fantasy game with a job system. So there's like 22-ish different jobs you can switch your characters between as you're going through the game. 4-job Fiesta. You are like trusting your fate to RNG, and you get a set of 4 jobs assigned to you, and you have to use those 4 jobs throughout the entire game. And I got a really bad result. I got Thief, which is like a very fragile, underpowered attack class. I got Berserker, literally uncontrollable. Geomancer, which, like the Berserker, is random. They just do random elemental effects instead of randomly choosing targets to hit with their axe. And then Dragoon, which is kind of like fine, but not that exciting. And this actually ended up being, like, as a challenge run, pretty fun for the most part. Because, like, when I'd played Final Fantasy V previously, I'd been using, like, the full suite of abilities across all the different jobs. And it's very easy to figure out what the optimal job and ability loadout is for any given part of the game and just do that. This forced me to go through very noticeable peaks and troughs in terms of like my party's effectiveness. There were a few fights that were just excruciatingly bad. In particular, there's a boss fight against a boss called Omniscient, which every time you use something against it other than a magic spell, it casts the return spell, which restarts the battle. If you remember the list of jobs,
You have uncontrollable.
I have uncontrollable characters and no magic casters. So it was excruciating. It was possible. What I had to do was obviously the Berserker was not allowed to go to that fight. But then I had just reflect rings on my characters. So every time it cast a spell at me, it plinked it for a little bit of damage. But that wasn't enough because it also regenerates health. So what I had to do was wait for it to cast silence or stop at me, which reflects off me, hits the boss, and then there's like 5 seconds before that status effect wears off where you can hit it with a knife, and because it's stopped or silenced, it can't restart the battle. And so I'm just like sitting there waiting for silence or stop to bounce off me, actually connect with the boss, and then get like one attack in. That thing has, I think, 30,000 HP or something. It was like my successful run took like 45 minutes against that boss, and that was after like multiple hours of unsuccessful runs trying to get this. So I don't know that I would recommend doing a 4-job Fiesta run, but aside from that, it was actually a pretty good time.
Didn't think of just re-rolling your shit?
Angie suggested that when I told her how bad my job picks were, and I felt like that was not in keeping with the spirit of a 4-job Fiesta. So, yeah,
Fair.
right. So if I'm going to sign up for RNG, you got to be willing to play with Snake Eyes, just like accept it and move on. So there was that, and the one other thing to call out that I've been playing is I just started replaying Witcher 3 for the first time since we recorded our Witcher 3 podcast episode way back in season 1, which was
How
back.
has it aged?
It's fantastic. Yeah. And it's like really, last time I played it was on the Switch. This is now on my PC on my new graphics card with the next gen version of the game and HD texture mods and a bunch of other stuff. So it's great. It's like a big upgrade from what I last remember playing. I did add some mods this time. The big reason was I don't like the leveled equipment. Like I didn't like having to like deal with like your equipment would get obsolete and you have to put on new clown clothes just because they had higher stats.
It looked like a jack off for like levels and levels, wearing some like dumb fucking looking pants.
And then there was
I hated it.
I know.
Hated it. It's the one bad thing about that game.
And I also didn't like that in Witcher 3, there's this thing where like, all the quests and monsters have their own levels. If you are higher level than those quests, you just get like basically no experience from them. And that gave me, this is a me problem, but it gave me this weird kind of anxiety that I wanted to do the quests like in quest level order so that I wasn't missing out on experience, right? So I just added a mod to upscale. Well, you can in the settings for the game upscale all the quest difficulties to your level, and just added a mod so I would get full experience regardless of what order I did them, just so I didn't have to worry about the exact levels of the exact quests I was picking up. So I'm not that far in it yet. I got to Velen, met the Bloody Baron. It is, as we detailed in the season 1 podcast episode, an all-time great game. So just enjoying that. But that's it. Before we go into eulogizing the about-to-be-retired Switch 1, Angie and Robert, I think you guys wanted to talk about your experience with the newly opened San Francisco Union Square Nintendo store.
Yeah. Robert and I got to go 2 days prior to its opening to Nintendo San Francisco. And it was a very cool experience. We, like everyone else who got to go, we were embargoed. So we could only talk about certain things that day, and then had to wait until the embargo lifted on Thursday. It was like 11:30 in the morning on Thursday, which was a little frustrating, just because like you're excited and you want to talk about things, and
it made no sense to me because the embargo's gone, so now we can just talk about it. It was, you could talk about the first floor because everyone can peek through it like a Garfield suction cup cat and just look through the windows. The lower level was forbidden to discuss. All it was more of the top level. The only difference was which characters and franchises were downstairs, as though it was a big mystery that there was going to be a Zelda section, right?
Well, I think that what they were trying to, I think the surprise that they wanted to keep people from spilling the beans on was the big giant like floor to ceiling screen that you can play demos on, which they have at Nintendo Tokyo. Which, I mean, they have at Nintendo Tokyo.
Yeah, you put it that way. And
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Do they not have that at Nintendo New York?
I guess not, because when we were given a tour by somebody from Nintendo New York, and when he brought us that screen, it's funny because he said something like, I think he asked like, somebody asked about it. Somebody asked something about it, and he said, this is essentially like the one at Nintendo Tokyo. And And I had told Robert, I had whispered to him when we were walking around, like, Zack and I got to try this at Nintendo Tokyo. So I understand, wanting that to be like a big kind of surprise. But at the same time, it's not like it was the most, I don't know, like shocking thing. So it was just kind of odd that would be the thing that they'd want to keep under wraps for 2 days. But yeah, I mean, to Robert's point, like downstairs is where the Zelda, Splatoon, Pokemon, Pikmin, Metroid, and Kirby collections are. And all the amiibo are downstairs. So, yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of strange that, like, all of that they'd want to keep under wraps. The other thing that we were not allowed to do was you were not allowed to editorialize. You were not allowed to give your opinion of this place until the embargo lifted. They just wanted you to basically, you could only talk about the top floor. And when I say talk about it, you could only really just be like, here's 30 seconds tops if you were showing video. And you could just basically just be like, coming soon. And then if you were showing photos, you could show photos, but it could only be at the top floor. I did think it was funny that, how can I phrase this? The video game journalist class is a very interesting bunch of people. Some of the people there seemed a little miffed that they couldn't editorialize until Thursday, which was a little annoying to me because I'm like, I mean, God forbid that you can't share your opinion right away. Like you have to wait a couple of days because the embargo lady, the PR lady that was there to remind us multiple times that you cannot share certain info until the embargo lifts. She said, we don't want you editorializing. And there was a journalist there and she was like, so like, what do you mean? We can basically just say, what, coming soon? The PR lady was like, yeah, that would actually work. Yes. Mm-hmm. Coming soon will work. And the journalist seemed a little bothered by that. But just, I don't know, some of the attitudes of some of the people there, it's just kind of like, guys, we're lucky that we're here at all. We're not owed this. It's an invite. It's a good faith thing from Nintendo. It's nice that we're here, but
yeah, because I mean, let's face it. You know why you were there. You were there to be PR. They wanted as many outlets as they could advertising. This thing is here. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know. It's like, do you really think that you were being invited in because it's like they wanted the public to know if it was a good or a bad experience? I mean, it's like it's a store. Like. The most, I guess, you'd be commenting on would be like the layout, but otherwise it's just like, you're editorializing, like, what is there to say? I mean, I gave some thoughts, but they were kind of ancillary to the store itself when I did my own kind of podcast thing on it. But
games journalists are so used to getting access without thinking, like, the reason that they're getting access is to be a mouthpiece for game publisher PR.
Yeah, it was just interesting seeing these people that were shocked that Nintendo would be like, we don't care about your opinion right now. We don't care about your opinion until Thursday.
This is why people get press pass access to like Summer Games Fest, or used to get press pass access to E3 or whatever. Like, you're there to sell games, right? That's the reason the industry wants you there at all.
Yeah, I mean, because Nintendo, I'm sure, is also concerned about, like, they don't want any negative opinions about the merchandise. They don't want a journalist going and being like, oh, we thought the quality was cheap. We thought that everything was too overpriced. We thought that some of the collections were a little samey. We didn't like that the Kirby section was entirely licensed, and even though I can talk about that in a second, or we didn't like that they didn't have a collection for X or Y, or we thought that there could have been a bigger collection for there's plenty that you could editorialize about. They don't want that because this is their only other store in the United States, so they want it to be as positive as possible. So I get all of that. It was just apparently some of the other journalists did not. But just in terms of overall, the collections is awesome. I've been to, and Zack has also been to. I've been to every store except for Kyoto. We couldn't work Kyoto into our schedule. We were there in Kyoto a couple of days after that store opened.
Is that really all of them in Japan? Just Japan, Osaka, and Kyoto?
Tokyo.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto.
Yeah, and then they're opening Fukuoka, I think, this year. And then I went to New York before it became Nintendo New York. It was still Nintendo World. I'd say that of all the stores that I've been to, it was closest to Nintendo Tokyo in terms of the feel and the vibe and the decor and everything. And it was cool that they brought so much of the stuff that they had there here. Especially too because there was a lot of stuff there that I couldn't bring home, because it wouldn't have fit in my luggage, but now I can go there and just get it there. So that's really cool. The quality, Dom looks very happy about that. The quality of the things is really nice. Very nice quality. A lot of creativity went into a lot of the lines. They were talking about how they partnered with brands like Sanrio for the Animal Crossing, some of the Animal Crossing stuff. It was cool. It was very. It was almost surreal. This is something that. Going all the way back to when Nintendo World opened when I was a kid, I remember thinking wow, I want a Nintendo store here. And then, now I'm 34 years old and they finally opened one. So it's actually pretty surreal and that's really neat. Robert and I were talking about how the timing is a little unfortunate in terms of where they opened it. Opening it in Union Square is a bit of an odd choice now when Union Square in San Francisco is struggling. Downtown San Francisco is struggling. Stores are closing, and we have problems with organized retail theft, and we have problems with violent retail theft, things like driving cars through the front of stores. And
well, it's like a gamble that this could be an anchor, right?
Yeah.
There's reason to think that San Francisco might reverse the trend that it's been going through. The worst timing would have been if they'd opened this in 2019, 2020.
Yeah, that would have been the worst. And I don't know that it would have survived that. And so it was nice though, because while we're standing there and people were waiting to be checked in, those double-decker bus tours, I can't remember the name of it right now, but there's a particular company. One of those drivers came up and he was actually asking me about it and he was all excited, and you could see, like Robert said, people were stopping in their tracks and looking in the windows, walking up to the windows and looking in. People were asking the security guards, is the store open yet? So you could feel genuine excitement. And then the freaking lines of people that were multi-block long after the store opened, once it officially opened. So there's an actual sense of excitement here. It's just, I really, really hope that, it can survive, because that sense of excitement seeing it open was a really nice juxtaposition to all of this bad news that we keep hearing about, all of these closures of major anchor stores that have been in the area for decades. And it's just, it's not really clear how they move forward.
Well, I'll end it with the one thing that frustrated me that I voiced to one of the reps was scalpers, and how Nintendo continues to make zero notable effort to counter the scalper. And I had mentioned it to one of them. I was like, so you guys are doing anything to try to counter that once everything opens? Because I was basing some of my purchases on, will this be here in a month? And I bought things that I was like, okay, I'm assuming this will sell out. This will be here forever, like the Nintendo SF thermoses, for example. But he said basically no. He's like, oh, not really. And then he countered back with, as long as our product gets out there. And I looked at him and just straight up said, not really. I go, not when I have to pay double for it versus just buying it for MSRP here. I go, and it's not like Nintendo makes any of that money when some scalper goes to sell it for double. Mm-hmm. Now, their mindset is just, product out the door, product out the door. But to me, it's being tone deaf to your own brand. It's like, it's Nintendo, dudes. It's like, it's going to sell out. Now, the only difference is if you let some dickheaded scalper buy everything in one, armful, sure, you sold out in 5 minutes, but you would sell out across the span of an entire day. It would be gone. So it doesn't make sense to me to continuously just, smash down on your loyal customers because it's like, well, there's a chance it might not sell out. It's like, no, it'll sell out, dude. It's like you could at least limit some of what people are buying, because I was looking at some mugs some thermoses that I wanted. And like, I could totally see someone just coming in and grabbing all 6 of the thermoses that are right here, taking them upstairs, and then they're all gone. And I think that as much as I like collecting this stuff as an adult collector, this is a brand that you find and you fall in love with, particularly when you're a kid. And when you make it harder and harder and harder to engage as a kid, you're killing the kind of generational aspect of the brand and of the fun of it. It's like with Disney. You think of how there's like great-great-grandparents that love Mickey Mouse, and now they're, kids of today that still love Mickey. That's only possible because you can engage with it, and there's, and not just in terms of like, the media that you watch, but the stuff that you buy. People like to buy shirts and mugs and all these other things. You take that away from people, it's a little harder to build that up, as a kid.
Unfortunately, that rep's attitude is the same attitude that they have in the Japanese stores. Because, like the Pokemon Center, they came out with a whole collection of products to celebrate the anniversary of Gold and Silver. And immediately, they're all over the internet. They're all over Facebook Marketplace. Scalpers, just selling them at a premium, and they don't care. They don't limit anyone. It's just like, buy whatever you want, sell it at whatever cost you want, because they have the same mentality there.
They care a little. They kept you from buying 2 Pikachus at the Pokemon store.
So, I'll keep that story brief. We went to the Pokemon Center, and they had just come out with. It must have come out within just like the last handful of days. It was a line of Pikachus, and the Pikachus all had like different expressions. And so I had, I think, 4 in my hands. I had 2 for me, and then 2 for family members that I was going to bring back. And the cashier was telling me as best she could, I could only buy 1. I'm the only one who she's telling that to. There are multiple people who have multiple Pikachus. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, and I'm trying to like communicate as best I can too, like, there are other people who are buying more than 1. And she kept going, no, sorry, only one. So I had to pick the one that I liked the best. And so I don't know if that was a policy for the foreigner or if that was maybe she was mistaken or what. But so they seem to selectively care. But yeah. But anyway, it was a cool store. This weekend, we're recording on Memorial Day weekend. According to the website, Memorial Day weekend is the last weekend that Nintendo San Francisco will require a Warp Pass to visit. Now you should be able to just go, and it should just be a free-for-all and just a regular store experience. When we were speaking with the PR rep in store, she was saying that they're not entirely sure if that's how they're going to do it, or if they may have to play it by ear and still require a Warp Pass moving forward. So it may still be a little up in the air. But so it's very cool. Very cool.
Cool. If there are no objections,
no.
Let's move on to our discussion topic of the day, which is the venerable... How old is it? 8 years and a few months, right? The venerable Nintendo Switch came out in March 2017. The first point of discussion I want to bring up is people's feelings about the Switch and how that changed over time. So we can probably all remember when there was hype or secrecy around it, and then Nintendo's big announcement, cool promotional videos of stylish 20-somethings hosting a rooftop party.
I forgot about those commercials.
And then the launch, all this excitement with like Breath of the Wild and all these other things. So how did you feel about the Switch when it was announced and coming out? And also how, if at all, have your feelings changed over the life of the Switch up to now?
I distinctly remember being worried that the Switch was going to be a gimmick and that it wasn't going to succeed. I was really worried that it was just going to be like a trying to capture lightning in a bottle twice, with like trying to do essentially the Wii again.
Mm-hmm.
And capturing a similar sort of experience, and that it was going to fail and it was going to flop and people were going to laugh at it, and that it was just not going to be a serious console. And I think part of it was the dual, the Joy-Con and coming, like being able to come off of the console, and the whole like switching. It can be portable, it can be docked, and I was just like, I don't know about this. And then the marketing. Like, oh, look, we're, millennials in Brooklyn. We love games, sort of. And, we like to get together. And I was just like, oh, my God. Like, I don't know about this. And,
So how long did it take until you decided Nintendo had or had not fallen into that trap?
Well, I mean, I got the Switch at launch. I got the Switch with the collector's edition of Breath of the Wild, and I was immediately pulled into Breath of the Wild. I had thoughts about the game later, but immediately I was just like, this is, I felt like I was proven wrong. Like, it was not, it didn't feel like it was a kiddie game. It didn't feel like it was a joke. It didn't feel like it was holding my hand. And so I do feel like right away, I think that some of my fears were tamped down. And it really didn't take long for the Switch to kind of get going, and other things to come out. And I don't think I ever had a period after that where I was like, oh, maybe I was right. I do feel like I was proven wrong from the get-go, and continued to feel like the Switch was, a real legit console. I have other thoughts I'll get to later, but those were my initial thoughts, and then my when I saw the marketing, and then my initial thoughts when I first played the Switch.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of those kind of worries. My main worry was just that it would fail, because Wii U failed. And I'm like, well, the way Nintendo's phrasing it, if this fails too, then they might have to just start publishing their software everywhere, which is like, as a diehard Nintendo fan, that's like the nightmare scenario. It's like, no, I always want them to have a console. I don't want to see Mario on a PlayStation. But I felt like it was immediately going to be an improvement over Wii U, in that it was realizing basically everyone had the misconception Wii U was the tablet, was the gamepad. And then Nintendo's reps were having to be like, well, no, it connects to the box, and then people were like, oh. And then they could never really do anything substantial with the gimmick of the second screen of the Wii U. Even games, because you would sit there and think, well, it works for DS, so it would work for the Wii U, and it's like, well, not really, because it's a different experience. For one thing, the two screens on a DS are just stacked; they're right there in front of each other. On a Wii U, one is in your hands, the other is the big television in front of you. So the problem is, it's like perfectly demonstrated with what is that game called? Rainbow Curse or something like that. There's a Kirby drawing game on Wii U where you draw paths with the stylus. And it's a sequel to Canvas Curse, which was on DS. On DS, it totally works because it's right in front of you, both screens, and you're drawing, and everything's good. On Wii U, you're drawing on the tablet, and technically you could look up at the screen, but you have to look at the tablet to draw, and the action's all there. You don't even need the television for that. So Wii U was a failure, for many reasons, but that was one of them. And then the fact that it was underpowered. We all remember the cherry blossom flying through the air video, where Nintendo's like, we have this new thing called high definition. And we're like, oh, new, you say? It's just like, so Switch comes along, and instead I was optimistic, I was like, well, it's more powerful. They've combined the handheld into the console and vice versa, so it's just this one, all-in-one unit. Now, to this day, I'm still disappointed that we've lost the dedicated handheld, because I just feel like there's types of games you get when it's dedicated for a handheld that you don't get for like console. But just in terms of the build-up, I was like, yes, this looks good. I just hope that it works. And I had a good feeling because of Breath of the Wild. Now, I'm kind of like Angie. Breath of the Wild's not my favorite Zelda, and I have opinions about it. But I remember the E3 right before Switch launched. The only thing Nintendo had was Breath of the Wild, and it was the Wii U version. And everyone and their mother was lined up, queued out around the Nintendo booth that entire E3. That's all anybody wanted to play. There was no other game at Nintendo's booth, and the entire thing was made to look like Hyrule. So it was like statues of Link and moblins and stuff. So I'm like, the hype around this game is like enormous. So like out the gates, Switch is going to be fine. The question was going to be long term, would this work? But I didn't look at it like as a gimmick. I just was like, well, I mean, this is kind of cool. It's like, you are giving the consumer both. You don't have to buy two consoles anymore, and then you get the double setup. And amazingly, it works. It worked. It continues to work. Like, it's great. I remember getting the console and being at work and like, oh, I could just put the screen here and then have my hands under the desk and I'm manipulating the Joy-Con and I can just kind of look at the screen and seem like I'm paying attention. I was like, this is a wonderful invention. So, yeah.
What are you doing under the desk there?
Nothing.
So we're moving on next.
Oh, no. What were your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the trailer, and I was super hyped. And I was just thinking to myself, if they do this right, this is going to be like a home run. I really, unlike Rob, I like the fact that it was both. You could start your game on the TV docked or whatever and just take it on the road. I thought that was so cool. Not having to worry about, now even other, systems, it's like you got to worry about the cross saves. Like I know for PC, for example, you can start a game on your PC Play, and with cross saves and all that, you can then take it on your, what's it called? Like a
Steam Deck?
Like your Steam Deck and continue on your game. There's a lot involved there. You have to make sure, your saves, your cloud saving is synced and all that. I've had issues with my Ally with Xbox, saves, and it's like it ends up crashing and I have to start over, and it's like, man, I never have this problem with a Switch because it's just one unit. You know what I mean? So I thought that was just well done. Obviously, it takes a big hit in graphics and all that, but clearly that didn't deter anybody from buying this thing, playing this thing. You know what I mean? Like Rob said, the fact that Breath of the Wild was a launch title, that's a big spike right out the gates. And I mean, their library is just insane. So they might have had the back against the wall mentality too, to sort of fuel this as well. Yep. It's like, we got to go hard. This has got to work. We got to have the right tech and the right games. Because we do not want to go third party. Because if this flops like the Wii U, we might be in trouble. Or go straight handheld. You know what I mean? But yeah, Breath of the Wild as a launch title helped. I didn't get the Switch at launch. I think it was a couple months after. I was at a GameStop at near my job looking for something else. And they had one left. I cut the little kid in front of me. Nope, not today. But I made sure I walked out with a Switch there that day. So we're just talking about our initial thoughts, and then sorry, I missed.
What were your initial thoughts when you saw like the marketing, you saw the announcements, and then did that change once you started playing?
Okay. Yeah, so I was optimistic at first, and I was not disappointed. At all. So it was good launch.
For me, I was really excited for Breath of the Wild. More than the Switch. I thought the Switch looked cool also. But I remember when the Switch came out, I ran out and bought Breath of the Wild for Wii U and played that, and only got the Switch later in the year, I think when Odyssey came out. But that was just like, I wasn't in a rush to buy something new. I was excited by the Switch though, and like, I mean, I think Angie might remember. I used to have a portable PC called a GPD Win.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And
Didn't you use that thing like once?
no, I used it more than once, but it definitely like there are problems with Windows on a portable like handheld because it's really not meant for like quick wake from sleep. Have a couple minutes while you're gaming and then put it away. Like it doesn't work well for that.
Yeah, every time I turn my Ally on, it's some stupid update. I have to restart 3 times, and by the time it's done, I'm like, I don't even want to play anymore.
Yeah.
Let me just...
Yeah, when
So I feel that.
when you know the Steam Deck came out, I got a Steam Deck ASAP, and like people were like, "Here's how to put Windows on the Steam Deck," and I was just like, "I've been there, buddy. You cannot trick me."
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and so like that's kind of what I was looking at the Switch as is like a successor to, and there's like, you know, the Switch obviously revolutionized things, but it is like the culmination of things people have been trying to do for like 30 years, going back to like the Sega Nomad or the Turbo Express for the Turbo Graphics. Like there has been this dream of having a console that you can carry with you for a long time, and I think like the Switch looked like it was going to be the one that finally made it happen, and it was, right? So I was definitely excited by that because like I like that idea. I like handheld gaming, and I've been drawn to those aspects of handheld gaming that are like a little more ambitious in terms of their power, like the PSP and all the emulation options that provides, and the Vita, and honest disappointment of the GPD Win, but still like the dream of the GPD Win, and like that didn't pan out, but the dream of the Switch did. So I was like really excited for it, even though I didn't have plans to buy the Switch right when it came out. And that first year of the Switch really won me over. I really liked Breath of the Wild enough to play it a second time once I did get the Switch, and Odyssey was also that first year, and that was a great time too. As time went on, I definitely, once the Steam Deck came out, the amount of time I spent playing on the Switch went down a lot, and that changed my relationship to the device a lot. Because a lot of what I was trying to do wasn't Nintendo specific, and without being Nintendo specific, like the Steam Deck, like if you take out Nintendo first party games, I think the Switch is like a harder sell compared to the Steam Deck as an alternative, at least for me. But still definitely like positive on the device. Was there anything else anyone else wanted to say about like their feelings on the Switch, or like move on to?
Not the just general kind of overall.
Yeah.
No.
Cool. Next thing I wanted to ask about was, look, obviously the Switch was a tremendous success. Changed Nintendo's fortunes. It's obviously a huge front runner in the console space right now. And if it hasn't already beaten the PS2 for lifetime sales, I'm sure it will soon, right? So it's huge. Given that it's huge, what do you think the Switch changed for Nintendo? And what did it change for you in the way you play games? And what did it change for the industry? You can answer any or all of those.
I think the Switch got me to play more games in general. I've always played games. I've played games my whole life. It's got to be my earliest memory of being alive involves games. But for whatever reason, the Switch really just kind of kick-started me playing more and more games, and not even just on the Switch, but on PS4, PS5. I think part of it was because like a bunch of games, third-party games, came to the Switch. Mm-hmm. And because I really love playing on the Switch, I was like, well, I may as well just play it on this console. Including Witcher, even though I was like, I'm going to play Witcher 3 on the PS4. But I still ended up playing, that game. But the BioShock series, I played, I experimented with the BioShock series on the Switch, and just a whole bunch of different games that I played on the Switch when they came to that platform. And I don't know, just something about the Switch just really kind of put my gaming in general into overdrive. And
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
That the Switch, like obviously there were third-party games on like the Wii or whatever, but they were often different games than what was on competing platforms. And the Switch, that was still obviously the case to some degree, but like there was much more you can get the same game on like PS4 or on Switch.
Yeah.
Right.
And there were also a lot of indie games that I discovered on Switch. Obviously, I discovered Ruiner on PS4, but then Ruiner came to Switch. But then, because of my love of Ruiner, then I discovered Hotline Miami, and Ocho, and just like various other games I still want to play, like Hong Kong Massacre. Games I tried and despised, like was it Chinatown Detective or whatever the heck that was called?
Yeah, I think Chinatown Detective Agency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Games like that. So it also kind of helped me broaden my horizons a little bit with different genres, and I discovered a lot of games I really loved because of the Switch. In terms of what it changed for Nintendo, other than changing its fortunes, turning its fortunes around, I don't know. It seems like a lot of third-party developers want to work with Nintendo now, and not that they didn't before, but Nintendo historically has had a really kind of mixed reputation with third-party developers. Obviously, way back when, they didn't have a very good reputation at all. They had a terrible reputation because they haven't always worked very well with third-party devs. And then, depending on what platform you're talking about, they had a good relationship. They had a lot of third-party titles that released on some platforms, and then some kind of a dearth, in other years. I think once it came to the Switch, though, a lot of third-party devs wanted to get in on Switch, and we'll probably see that continue on with Switch 2, I imagine.
There are analysts right now who are predicting that Switch 2 will become the third-party partner for most of the industry.
Yeah, I see that.
They'll be the prioritized platform.
I think that makes sense. So I'd say that was probably a big thing, a big boon for Nintendo. Yeah.
Well, I think that what Switch just kind of reaffirmed, and like I don't see how there's any questioning it at this point. It's like the industry just is Nintendo. Like the industry is defined by Nintendo and what it does. And there have been exceptions where like PlayStation has been on top or Xbox, but like for the most part, it's Nintendo. It's like the down years of the GameCube were preceded by the okay years of the N64. That's where you had the like kind of major lull. But like you can't forget the handheld space has always been dominated by them. And then you get to Wii. And like Wii, you get this whole, they're in a different ecosystem. They're doing something different. It's like, no, you are a game company that makes hardware and makes software. Just like Sony, just like Microsoft. And you're acting like you're in a separate space. But for one thing, the Wii era, there were plenty of like Wii versions of games, right? But like Call of Duty was on Wii. Yeah, you had Madden on Wii. You had different series because everyone was looking, all these third-party publishers, and were like, wow, that's a shit ton of Wiis that they've sold. We want to sell our games. That's a huge install base. So you can pretend they're in their own ecosystem, but like they're really not. And of course, when the Wii came out, what did PlayStation make? What did Xbox make? They made the Move. They made the Kinect. If they're in such a separate space, you wouldn't mimic each other. And then when the Wii U came out, what did they do? They didn't make a tablet, but they both were like, so the Vita's the second screen experience. Microsoft was doing, I think, Microsoft Glass or whatever, using a tablet. So it's like they're always there. They're always leading. But then here comes Switch and just really, once again, reaffirms that dominance because they gave you another underpowered system, but it was significantly more powerful than a Wii and even more so than a Wii U. Powerful enough that you could get a lot of stuff running on it that, I mean, in some cases you wouldn't even think we're going to be able to run on it. You had companies like Panic Button getting Doom 2016 running on the thing and running pretty well. So all these publishers are like looking and saying, hey, it's a viable platform. We can get most of our stuff running. let's do it. I do miss the dedicated handheld, but just the volume of games that you can play on this thing. I mean, it's like it has a bunch of handheld games, right? It's like you have the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance libraries on there, good chunks of them so far. And then you have a lot of the third-party releases, a lot of kind of like remasters and classics. And I think it's cool how Nintendo's built this infrastructure with Switch Online and the eShop, and they're just carrying it into Switch 2. Because it's like, this is what needs to be like the blueprint moving forward for everybody. It's like when we get PlayStation 6, it should not be, it's a whole new this and that, and everything that was on PS5 won't carry over. It's like, no, fuck that. Like, just let everything carry over. That's what Switch 2's basically doing. And so now I'm going to have this gigantic, amazing Switch library right off the bat on my Switch 2. And I can just play all those things, and it's going to improve the performance of some of those games. And we're talking about getting third-party support for who knows what games. I mean, it's entirely possible that you might end up with Grand Theft Auto 6 on Switch 2. At least that's a rumor that's floating around. And then other games. Microsoft has committed to, they're going to bring Call of Duty to Switch. EA is back with Madden. If they sell well enough, you might really start to see the return of that third-party prominence, which is what that analyst is talking about. So I think Switch did a lot in terms of just reaffirming what Nintendo is and its role in the industry. And just as a piece of hardware, it's incredibly fun. It's like, it's neat how it has these interchangeable controllers with the Joy-Con. It's sleek. It's easy to take places. It's been like invaluable for me as like a teacher. Like whether it's doing the game design stuff, it's like, yeah, can I bring in like a Series S is pretty good for this because it's so small. But like I can't bring my PS5 in. Like what am I going to get, a duffel bag and lug it, around and hope I don't break it as I'm setting it up? No, it's like a Switch. You'd buy it, you just buy another dock. And so I have docks at different schools. And when it's time for game club with the little kids, boom, my Switch just goes in. And then all the controllers connect wirelessly, we're good. If I'm teaching game design class, same thing. Different projector, different dock, and I can show games off. And because, again, that library is just so wide-ranging, it allows, it's just great. It's incredible. If I could levy any criticism, it's that if you look at just like the brand spanking new Switch games, like from Nintendo in particular, it's like there is a lot and there kind of isn't. There was one all-new Mario game. Technically, really just one all-new Zelda, right?
Two Mario.
Wonder and Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess you got to include that one. But it's like, you kind of got one of each
That
thing.
was your game of the year, buddy.
It was good, but I'm just saying that, like, if you think of the 8 years that Switch has been out, you'd think there'd be more. I mean, we got two Galaxy games on the Wii alone. So, like, that has been disappointing. But just, like, overall, like, the wealth of content to play, like, this... yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. That was something I was going to talk about later, was that the one criticism I have of the Switch is that I feel like it relied, especially towards the end, a lot on remasters and re-releases, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it did kind of feel like...
Those shouldn't be at the expense of
new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, the Switch started off really strong with totally new content like Odyssey.
All of my favorite Switch exclusives, I guess except for Tears of the Kingdom, are from like the first year of the Switch's lifespan.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to this later, just in terms of our favorite games. But yeah. when I think of like my favorite games on Switch, many of them are just totally new Switch games, not necessarily. Some of them are, a couple of them are remasters, re-releases, but a lot of them are not. A lot of them are just new Switch games, but they were so far and few between. There were so many years between them. And it is something that makes me worry about Switch 2, because I don't know if that's something that Nintendo can get away with again.
They can't get away with that. The question is whether they'll try to. Because they kind of, they've re-released a lot already, right? People commented extensively about how it's like, oh, I played this on Wii U, but nobody else bought a Wii U, so I understand why they're re-releasing it on Switch. But I already played it on Wii U. Like, I didn't need Tropical Freeze again. I didn't need Captain Toad again.
Yeah.
It's fine, but like,
Yeah.
the Nintendo diehards who had the Wii U are kind of like ill-served by the Switch lineup in some ways.
Yeah, the well is running a little dry now. So
Yeah. How long have we waited for Metroid Prime 4, but we got Metroid Prime Remastered? You know,
Good.
I'm sure it didn't take a whole lot of resources to make that, but so I mean, it's super loaded question, but like topic.
Yeah.
But I would say, for me personally, I never really played third-party stuff on Switch. It was mainly just for Nintendo stuff. It was interesting because a lot of indie stuff came out on Switch first, which I thought was it's cool because like I think Hollow Knight was on Switch only for a little bit, right?
Was it?
I don't think it launched at the same time on PS4. Might have been on Steam, but like Hollow Knight, Hades, I know for sure was only on Switch.
Yeah.
Like Shovel Knight, that was on Wii U first, right?
That was on
Wii U and 3DS.
3DS.
It was on Wii.
It was, huh?
I think it was on Wii as well.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's old now.
It is old.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a little off base with that one, but you know, I played those kind of games on the Switch, and of course, Breath of the Wild and then Odyssey came out the same year. So I didn't, you know, those were the main things I played on it. Anything third party, I would always go to the Xbox or PS4. But just back to the ability to play on docked mode at home on my couch or on the go, just help with everything. As far as Nintendo goes, definitely after the success of the Switch, they're probably in a mindset like do not fix what ain't broken at all. So that might actually maybe hurt a little bit, not revolutionizing or changing the formula. But I mean, if it worked for all these years, they're in a little different space. I know we've talked about in the past. The handheld market's a lot different than it was when the Switch launched. Like that is a given. So we'll see how that all pans out. I think they're going to have to hit hard with first party this time around, more so than this generation that passed. Because if the Steam Deck version of, you know, whatever third party game comes out is so much better than the Switch 2, you know, why get a Switch 2? So there's going to be some of that. The price point for Switch 2 is good. So it's going to keep a lot of people on Team Nintendo. And then one thing though is a lot of their first party stuff. There was a lot of hand holding on recent Nintendo only games.
yes.
That they still sold. They still sold a shit ton of Switches, so they might just keep that, which sucks. But I mean, I get it. You know, their audience is very broad, from little kids to us and older. So I think they want to make sure that it's accessible. You know, but yeah, I hope they do stray a little bit. Try something. I don't know how to put it. But what I've seen of Switch 2, it seems like they've prioritized power much more than the original Switch. I mean, you've seen the previews for like Final Fantasy Rebirth and Remake. So we'll see.
Yeah. For me, well, as it relates to how my habits have changed over time, like I already liked handheld gaming. I mean, I kind of feel like the biggest thing that the Switch did for me was pave the way for the Steam Deck. Like, as a successor to like the GPD Win and similar devices, I don't think this, like, I think the success of the Switch is what made Steam Deck viable. So that whole product category of like Steam Deck and the ROG Ally and all of that stuff, like they would still exist in some capacity. Like GPD Win already existed, right? But it would not have received the attention. I don't know that Valve would have made that leap to like really create that kind of PC category if it weren't for the Switch. And so like that, I mean, you've seen me play a ton of stuff on my Steam Deck in recent years. To some extent, I've kind of abandoned the Switch for the Steam Deck because for me, like the Switch was like this like three-pronged thing where I could play Nintendo first-party games on it, I could play indie games on it, and I could play older, like, 360 era games on it. And what happened after the Steam Deck came out was that I didn't have a reason to use the Switch for much other than Nintendo first-party games. So that like changed my relationship to the Switch, but none of that would have been possible if it weren't for the Switch in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
As for what I think changed about Nintendo, like, Robert already touched on this, but like handheld consoles are like dead as a separate thing now. There's no such thing as like a handheld game.
Mm-mm.
There's still mobile games, but like handheld games are just done, probably forever, because now the hand holdable hardware is capable of running console games. Even if Nintendo hadn't killed off, even if Nintendo hadn't like consolidated into like a single device, days of handheld gaming were probably numbered anyhow. But I definitely think like the Switch put a nail in the coffin there. The Switch also, like, obviously is very successful, but there are like consequences of the successes it had. Like Animal Crossing is now like a top tier Nintendo IP because of the wild pandemic era success of New Horizons. And obviously like Zelda is like very deeply changed from what it was before Breath of the Wild because of the success of Breath of the Wild. Both of those on the back of like how popular the Switch was. And then I don't really know in full what the consequences of the Switch's success are going to be for the industry. Like we've obviously heard rumblings of like handheld versions of PlayStations or Xboxes. There is, like as I said, there's this new category of handheld gaming PCs, but how that all shakes out, I don't know. Like Robert brought up the Move and the Kinect, and like this isn't just innovations coming from Nintendo. There's in tech in general, there's like this Me Too effect where other people come along and try to do the same thing, and it just doesn't catch fire in the same way. Nintendo with the Switch has been in the position of Apple. Like they didn't invent like I already mentioned, like the Turbo Express, right? Like they didn't invent the category of convertible home handheld gaming, but like Apple didn't invent the MP3 player with the iPod. It didn't prevent the iPod from becoming like the de facto standard for as long as MP3 players are relevant. I think there's a question of whether PlayStation and Xbox are going to be able to capitalize on that, especially because Steam Deck and the ROG Ally and all stuff like that already exists. So like how much market is left? Like if you want a high-end handheld experience, maybe just get the PC instead. And if you don't, why would you not get a Switch? And I think there's like some like risk that there's not, that basically like Microsoft bungled the opportunity to put out a handheld Xbox, like it's too late. So I don't know. And if that's the case, then where does that leave PlayStation, right? The one other thing I want to say in terms of how the Switch kind of changed the landscape is I think it changed Nintendo itself. Like the success of the Switch has allowed them to move more into like a more, I feel like there was always a tendency or a risk of them becoming like the Disney of the gaming space already. But like in the Switch years, they've moved more into like theme parks and movies and all these like, right? They're trying to become a media company, an IP company, rather than just a gaming company. I don't like that. I think maybe it's inevitable to some degree, but like the Switch has made me miss the Iwata era of Nintendo, and like you talk about like gimmicks, and there's a sense in which the Switch with like the Joy-Con stuff is a gimmick, and even with the Switch 2, the mouse version of the Joy-Con, you can call that a gimmick, but none of those seem like as wild a swing as like the Wii U's whole second screen, or the DS's touch screens, or the 3DS's 3D, or the Wii's motion controls. It does seem, or for, not that it was successful, but the Virtual Boy also, right? Like Nintendo has made big, creative, gimmicky swings in the past that resulted in those systems getting kinds of games that you couldn't get anywhere else.
So I don't mind a Nintendo moving a little bit more into being a little bit more of a media company and not just strictly a gaming company, if it means two things. One, that they have more capital to feel a little more comfortable with like experimenting. And basically it's not so much like every time a console comes out, it's like, we have to be successful. We have to be successful or we can't exist as a gaming company anymore.
Right.
Like they have more wiggle room to fail a little bit or maybe to not be quite as successful. And two, if the games don't suffer for it. You know, like if they're still putting out quality games that people want to play, then I'm okay with it. But if it's, you know, we start getting, you know, politically correct, shitty, poor quality games because they are becoming Disney-fied or they are trying to be more mass market, then that is a problem, and then I'm not okay with it. So I think that it's a little early right now in their becoming more of a media company for me to say one way or another, you know, whether or not I'm okay with it yet, but I'm okay with it if those things apply.
Well, I think that if you look at Nintendo and the point I made earlier, where it's like for the longest it's been they're in their own ecosystem, they do this, they do that. It's like people just say stuff, you know. It's like I've talked about this on this podcast before. It's like we're 3 generations past the last console generation, according to gaming journalists. It's like always those articles coming out. This is the end. This is the end. It's not the end. Don't even really know when the end is going to be at this point. So it's clear the dedicated gaming hardware is a thing, isn't going anywhere anytime soon. But in an attempt to remain relevant, I think Nintendo has continued to innovate. Now, as far as like the DS goes, I mean, being fair, although it was a different period, it was Iwata and who was before him? It was the original president before Iwata, right? Mm-hmm. Forgetting his name right now, but
Yamauchi.
Yes. I do think that there was some earnest, like, we want to do something new with Wii and with Nintendo DS. But I also think that Nintendo is like, we have to stay relevant, but also looking at the failure of GameCube, right? You know, GameCube was firmly in third place, and they were running the risk of, do we become irrelevant? So you spice it up with this new technology. And, you know, following the failure of GameCube, yeah, the Game Boy brand is keeping you afloat, but it doesn't change the fact that, you know, they probably didn't have as much like money to just fling around. So it's like you get the lower powered console in terms of graphics, but with some pretty cutting edge motion tech. So you get all these cool games. And we've continued to have that going, right? But now we're at a point where it's like, well, for one thing, I'm not sure what more you could innovate with. I mean, obviously something will come along and knock all of our socks off. But it's like, you know, the game console has motion controls. The tablet itself has a touch screen. Now you have mouse controls and on and on. So it's like you have pretty diverse inputs.
It's not just the tech, it's the push, right?
Well, this is what I'm getting at, is that, like, you do worry that with Switch 2 they start to rest on their laurels a little bit. Because it's like, if you are now producing a console that's pretty powerful, and if it really does become a third-party magnet, you know, for publishing, it's like you're not really in a position where you need to innovate as much anymore. And so the question becomes, will Nintendo, you know, innovate?
Well, I mean, so like to take, you know, the Switch has RFID technology that they use for amiibos. It has gyro controls that it uses for like Splatoon and the Zelda games and like nothing else, right? Like this tech is there, but there's no appetite at Nintendo or at other companies to really lean into that as like a source of something like unique or defining about the Switch. And that feels different than like Wii U obviously did not pan out for Nintendo, but it positioned itself on this second screen idea and the kinds of gameplay ideas that you could do with that you couldn't without. There's like there could have been a world in which the Switch had a ton of games that leaned on gyro in a way that Xbox just could not duplicate because the Xbox controller doesn't have gyro in it, right? Or same with RFID. There's no reason that had to be limited to amiibos, right? But Nintendo has just become much more of a like the Switch, just aside from being able to take it out of its dock and play handheld, is just kind of like boilerplate, best practice video game machine, right? And that's what I'm lamenting.
But the question, I guess, is, or, you know, being fair to Nintendo here, I guess, I mean, they're the ones who were pioneering with this kind of stuff, right? You know, like the Wii was like hardcore, everything's motion control. And after, you know, however long that console was marketed, 8 years, whatever it was, at this point, I think Nintendo probably has a sense of what people are interested in when it comes to that. I mean, look at VR, right? Like that has and hasn't been a thing for like a decade now. Like there are people who buy like an Oculus or PSVR 2 or whatever. But like it's really not a dominant force within the industry. It feels like they keep trying to crack that nut and no one's quite there. So Nintendo, it's like in terms of motion control, it's like have they maybe just found the sweet spot of the quirky things where it's like, you know, people like the motion controls in their Splatoon game and then other devs come along. I forget what game just came out. There was a game that was recently updated, not a Nintendo game, but it's on Switch, where they added in the gyro controls because some people do like it. Mm-hmm. So it's like a case-by-case basis, but like, I mean, even at the height of Wii and as someone who enjoyed Wii, I just remember almost every motion control game thinking, I'd be happy if it didn't have motion controls, with the exception of maybe like Wii Sports. So like, I don't want Nintendo to not innovate, but it's also a question of like, don't innovate just for the sake of it. I don't know.
I don't feel that way. I feel like, you know, like VR, for example, and I'll wrap up here and we can move on to the next topic because I know we've been going on this for a while. Like, I think Nintendo could make VR work and could make VR more successful than it has been. Whether it would be like a big enough thing for it to be worth Nintendo's time, I'm much less confident on that. But like VR has been looking for like an honest killer app for a long time. And there's been some stuff like Half-Life Alyx, for example, is supposed to be really good. Beat Saber is supposed to be really good. But like, I'm confident that if Nintendo put their game design, toy company history, brainpower behind it, they would make something more interesting than just like, look, all your favorite games, but now you can get motion sick, right? I think they would come up with things because they're capable of that. And I think they've shown that in the DS era, the Wii era, etc. And so what I'm lamenting is that they've seemed to settle into a groove that doesn't require them to really flex that toy company ingenuity that they've shown in the past. That's all. Moving into the next question. This one's pretty straightforward. What were your favorite games on Switch? And this doesn't have to be like an ordered list. Just like throw out the hits.
For sure. Pokemon Legends Arceus. That one sticks out in my head a lot because it had felt like for a while I had started to pull away from Pokemon. I remember feeling like when Sun and Moon came out, I was angry playing those games. I was angry because I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is with this hand holding like garbage? Like, oh, we're all friends and we're gonna like teach you how to play Pokemon and we're gonna put you through this god awful slog of a tutorial. I never went back. And, you know, maybe I should just get over it, frankly, after all of these years and just go back and play it. But that experience left such a bad taste in my mouth that I felt like I had just soured on Pokemon. And then Arceus came out and I was like, oh my gosh, like this, it was like stepping back in time. And it was like, this is why I loved Pokemon. This is why like Pokemon was so formative on me, on my gaming tastes, on just my personality. Like I just loved Pokemon so much as a kid. And, you know, still love collecting the cards, love Pokemon in different ways. And Arceus just like tapped into that.
There's a second Legends game, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's coming out.
It's coming out. That was my question.
ZA
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I'm looking forward to. it has some really cool elements that I'm really looking forward to, like the night battles and
Does that game take place in like a Paris analog? Is that right?
it's the world from, is it Black and White? Is E through A?
This is a big year for France gaming.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like Black and White or whatever. It's funny. I have all of the mainline Pokemon games. I've just, through the years, I just like bought them, intended to play them, and then just kept getting turned off more and more by the hand holding and the we're all friends and less of like a rivals thing. And anyway.
Gen 2 the most recent mainline Pokemon that you've completed?
No, maybe 3.
Gen 3, okay.
No. I think it was like maybe 4. I think maybe it's like Gen 4 is the last one. I think I remember.
The original DS, the first
Yeah.
Gen 4.
So like Sword and Shield, you didn't play those?
I did.
X and Y?
No, I played Y. I think Y has the Xerneas and Yveltal, right?
I think so. But
Oh wait, no, I played Scarlet.
Oh,
I did
you
play
played
Scarlet.
through them like all the way?
No, and then play all the way.
Is that what you're saying, Zach?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was like a smattering of I played
see,
little,
I
little,
see.
little,
Gotcha,
but like
gotcha.
all the way. I think the last one I remember playing all the way was like 4.
Okay.
And then over the years, it was like I bought every single one, and then just like I started and then I stopped.
So
and-
Arceus is the first Pokemon game you've seen all the way through
All the way
in a
through.
long time.
It was a long
since
time.
the original DS.
Yeah, and I tried with with Scarlet. Like with Scarlet, I actually got like a fair way through, and then I was just
Play it on Switch 2. I'm sure it'll run a lot better.
yeah.
Those games are like trash.
I know, but yeah.
Imagine if it ran worse due to some like driver incompatibility.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
I'm sure
But-
it's inevitable for at least one or two of the games.
Yeah, but Arceus just, man, it just made me so happy, and I love that game. It's a fantastic game, and I'm really looking forward to Z through A, or however you pronounce it. I think it was Z through A. And then Kirby, Forgotten Land. Not like the most difficult game, but it is just so beautiful, really good soundtrack, really fun to play, and this interesting little world, like this forgotten world, that's kind of getting reclaimed by nature, and Kirby's working his way through it, and the hub, like the central hub world with all of the Waddle Dees is just so incredibly charming and cute, and Zach's laughing at me, and it's
And the music.
music is so good. The beach theme is probably my favorite. You get the Gashapon. You can actually collect little, Gashapon in game, and it's a fantastic game. That one was really good. Animal Crossing, I put, I think at this point it's close to 1,600 hours I put into New Horizons. And I have some very, very fond memories of all of us playing Animal Crossing New Horizons and visiting each other's islands and
Just talking about it.
talking about it and seeing each of the updates we had done to each other's islands. And then the cool thing of like everybody's island had different you had versions of certain items that only you could get on your island, and so I'd have to visit your island to get that colorway, and vice versa. I still am missing one single piece of art to complete my art gallery. Just one piece of art. And like, finally getting the villagers that I wanted in my island, and yeah, just like I loved finally like creating, like getting my island exactly the way I wanted it to be. And I also, though, I feel like Nintendo did New Horizons players kind of dirty. I felt like that game got very little support in the grand scheme of things. Just not a lot of time. Got like a couple of years, and they're like, no more updates. Just enjoy what we've given you. And I thought that was kind of lame, because it was a really, really good game when they were supporting it. So Smash for sure. I mean, Ultimate is, I can't think of a better name. If they got rid of Steve from Minecraft, I think it would be like the epitome of the perfect game. But what a wasted DLC slot. But otherwise, like, it is the ultimate version of Smash. It is unbelievable, an unbelievably fun game. Characters that I didn't think I'd have much interest in, that they've become like go-tos for me, like Piranha Plant. You know, Link will always be my main. You know, he'll always be like, it's like riding a bike, you know, pick up Link. And
I get it. It's a religious commitment on your part.
It is. But then, you know, you pick up other characters like Piranha Plant or Bowser Jr., and I just have so much fun playing with those characters, or Cloud, and it's just, Smash is incredible. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, again, with all of the DLC that they brought to that game. World Deluxe set a very high bar, and World is going to have to, at minimum, meet it. And I don't know if it's going to be able to, and I hope it will, but
I worry for both Smash and Mario Kart, because it seems like the versions that were on Switch are like very feature complete, definitive versions of those games. And I've seen like Koei was in this pickle moving Dynasty Warriors from 5 to 6, like moving from PS2 to PS3, because like it's kind of like we have so many characters that you can play as, we have so many stages you can play. We can't just do the same thing in higher resolution. What do we do? Right?
Yeah.
And like it's going to be hard. Even like Mario Kart World looks like it's shaping up well, but like I pity any potential next Smash Brothers game, because, you know,
poor Sakurai is going to have...
It's Ultimate, right? How do you beat Ultimate?
Yeah, Sakurai is going to have a lot of expectations on his shoulders, and he's going to disappoint people inevitably.
I mean, if they can maintain the licenses and just do Smash Bros. Ultimate Deluxe and milk that for 8 years like they did Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you know, maybe just give it a couple more stages, a couple more DLC characters, you know, you do like what was the pack called for Mario Kart?
Oh,
the Booster Course
the Booster
Pass.
Course
Like,
Pass.
just do something like that and you'll be good. Because to Zach's point, like, both those games are ones that I just, like, I don't know how you get better. Like,
Yeah.
Mario Kart World could potentially be better, but like as someone who loved Double Dash growing up, like 8 is the best Mario Kart. Like, it just is. It has the greatest variety of courses, tracks, racers. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Angie.
Yeah.
Or you want to take a breather and have us like rotate a couple times? Maybe?
Yeah, because I was going to say I'm sticking right now with like first party titles, because like I said, there were a lot of indie titles that I played on Switch exclusively that I'll name in a bit. But I think the last maybe first party title I'll mention for now is that Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. Being able to finally play that again after like 19, 20 years was really special. So yeah. I'll think of more.
Cool. Robert?
I guess I won't repeat ones Angie has mentioned, but pretty much
You
all
can at
ones.
least mention them if they...
Yeah, I mean, all of those are ones that I enjoyed. I actually don't have as big of a problem with Pokemon as Angie. I like Sword and Shield, for example, even though your little buddy in that game is freaking annoying. All he does is lose. And it's just constantly like, I'm going to be the best, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do... And it's just like, yeah, but you get your ass kicked like every battle. It's like, whatever, man. Anyway, but the Pokemon games, I've been enjoying them on Switch. Mario Kart, like, and Smash, like, I talk about my favorite games, you know, it's like Ocarina of Time is my probably favorite game ever, tied with Majora. But when I think of, like, Switch and, like, the kind of daily impact of certain games and thinking of, like, family gatherings, we always play Mario Kart and Smash. It's like, there's almost nothing else. The only thing that mixes it up is we might throw in a Mario Party here and there or a Jackbox Party game. But otherwise, it's like, those games are a constant. And at the middle school that I teach at, that's all the kids want to play is Smash. And sometimes they want to play Mario Kart. So, like, the impact of those games, it's really something else. When they said World was going to be a launch title for Switch 2, I just remember thinking, that's smart. Like, that is probably the go-to game of like the console. You know, it's like if you're gonna play anything, it's probably gonna be Mario Kart. Like if it's a group of people, or you want something that has solid online play, it's like it's almost perpetually Mario Kart. Mario Kart. It's gonna move so many subscriptions for Switch Online. But anyway, in terms of other things though, I felt like Switch was a major boost for game preservation. Not in the best ways, right? You know, like the Switch Online rental model is just bullshit. I should be able to buy all that software and own it. But at least I can play a pretty decent collection of retro games across Nintendo's catalog, and even some stuff from some of the other publishers. So that's been pretty cool. But even the third-party efforts, if you look at the arcade archives, it's like, I think, over 200 games? I'm almost positive it's at 200. I don't know if Arcade Archives is at 300, but just like all these arcade titles that have been ported over, and you actually own those ones. Like, it's incredible the number that's there. Some of the Neo Geo Pocket stuff was resuscitated for Switch. You look at games like the Lara Croft collection. You have the first 6 games now, all remastered, but you can also play them with their original graphics. Like, that has been cool. Nintendo going through and either remastering or re-releasing some more recent titles. I mean, you have Paper Mario, right? But then you also have even like Skyward Sword. I like Skyward Sword. I know some people aren't as big on it. But when I look at the Switch library, I'm just thrown by how much I can play across generations. You know, it's like the entire Phoenix Wright saga is on Switch. Like, you can play every game in that series on a Switch right now. That's just so cool, you know. And the Street Fighter games, it's like almost all of Capcom's like fighting games are on Switch now at this point. So you have all these Darkstalkers games, Street Fighter. They find ones that you forgot existed, right? Like, I've been having a ton of fun playing Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, this is great, you know. It's like
you'd be hard pressed to find something that's come out that you can't fucking play on Switch. You know what I mean?
You know, BioShock's on there. The Arkham Asylum games, with the exception of the last one, that's not playable. But those have definitely been ones. Luigi's Mansion 3 is a standout for me. It was an earlier title. Mm-hmm. That is one of my top 10 favorite games ever. Like, it's beautiful. It's really well made. I remember being obsessed with that game when it came out. I've been intentionally avoiding replaying it. Like, I played it through one time, and I just was like, I'm not going to play it again. Like, I'm going to wait, because the next time I play it, I want it to be special. I don't want to get sick of it. Like, just amazing. Odyssey was another one I really enjoyed. I didn't think it was as revolutionary as people tried to act like it was. I'm like, this is really fun. I don't know why people are acting like it's like, yo, I've never played anything like this. I'm like, eh. But it was really good, really creative worlds. Something about it felt like a throwback, not because of the world structure, but like the creativity in the game world felt like a throwback to N64 to me. So that was another real standout one. I will pause here so I can try to think of a couple others. You go ahead, Dom.
Yeah. Odyssey's my favorite Switch game. I thought it's
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I would not have expected that.
Yeah. I remember when it came out. I remember specifically when it came out, I had the flu, and I was homesick for a week. And I played through that game all day, unless I was sleeping. And I think it's up there with the Mario games. I think I still like Galaxy 1 better. Mm-hmm. I like Galaxy 1 better than Galaxy 2. Mm-hmm. I know that's not the popular opinion. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's up there. I'll throw both the Zeldas in. I prefer Tears more. I like the story of Tears better. Mm-hmm. And then I also really liked Kirby and Forgotten Land. It was easy. I mean,
yeah, it was easy.
But the music and just the creativity and everything, the collectibles, and then even the end game content was pretty fun. You know, battling. I think you battle all the cool bosses, like even Meta Knight. I think you have to challenge.
Yeah, and I loved his transformations in that game.
Yeah, that was
really
super
cool.
good.
The vending machine makes me laugh.
Yeah. I had one more. Animal Crossing. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Animal Crossing. I also have hundreds of hours in that game. I was working from home for a little bit there, so like right after work, I would hop on and play for hours. And then I remember when Hades came out, I was really really hyped for Hades, based on the trailers and everything. And it was only on Switch, and I remember buying it and just thinking like, this is a $20 game. This is excellent. I thought that game was so good. I ended up buying it on everything. I have it on Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah.
And then I remember playing Hollow Knight on Switch, and what's that other one? Oh, Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire handheld is pretty good. Being able to just pull it out and play that. Yeah, I would say those are my top games. I also like Luigi's Mansion, Rob. Yeah, I'm kind of vanilla with it. Mario and Link and Zelda.
I forgot about Metroid Dread. That's another great
No,
one.
Dread
good,
was
yeah.
really
Remastered.
good.
Yeah.
Dread was good. Dread surprised me because I haven't played as much of the 2D Metroid games as I played of like Prime. But Dread was the subtitle was pretty apt. Like I would get really creeped out when I would encounter the Emmy, I think it was called.
Yeah.
It was there were really good moments in that game. I didn't beat it. I do intend to go back and beat that game one day, but that was a great game.
All the remasters are up there too. I just feel like it's a little bit of a cheat code
Yeah.
to say they're my favorites, but
Yeah.
For me, honestly, like the first year or so of my Switch ownership, I was super over the moon with it. Like I mentioned, I got it to play Mario Odyssey, and that ended up being one of my favorite games on the system. Even though it's not my favorite Mario game, like I would put, I think 3D World is my favorite of the 3D games, and of course, I don't think anything's ever going to beat Mario 3 for me. But I thought Mario Odyssey was a lot of fun. I just wish it had gotten harder towards the end. There was like whatever the equivalent of Champions Road was in Mario Odyssey. I don't think it was as tough, and I wish there'd been more, because like when those like the little side room challenges started getting more intense, I got more into it, and then just felt like it ended prematurely. But I kind of feel that way about a lot of the Mario games, honestly, is I wish there were more super difficult stages. But I had a really good time. I never got into like the super like mobility tech that I saw people doing, like the chain jumps using Cappy and all that.
Me neither.
Like that's cool. Glad I saw a GIF of it, but I never actually tried to do it. Breath of the Wild is definitely my top pick for Switch game. Even if, like, part of me wishes it had been a Wii U exclusive, just so they could have used touchscreen features on it, because they clearly, like, some of that UI was designed for like touchscreen usage, right? The whole thing idea of like the tablet and all that, but setting that alternate history thought aside, like Breath of the Wild as it is, absolutely a gem of a game. I think I've played it 4 or 5 times. Loved the base game enough to play it on Wii U when it came out, and then again on Switch after I picked that up, like right after Odyssey. And then the DLC I got into also, like the hard mode, Trial of the Sword stuff was
now you
like,
get to play the definitive edition.
Oh yeah.
we'll see.
4K, hopefully. 60 FPS.
Yeah. On Yuzu?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. No. JK. Never pirated a Switch game.
Don't brick your console.
Well, that's why I got a pirate on PC, right?
Shadru has a big red button in his office.
Says delete Zack. But yeah, no, Breath of the Wild, 100% my favorite game on the system. One other one I want to throw out, I never played the sequel, but I really liked Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
No, I forgot.
I thought
about
that
you
really
playing that, yeah.
like scratched some itches that I had that I feel like Advance Wars scratched and most other strategy games haven't, because what Advance Wars has that Fire Emblem doesn't is it, like, Advance Wars does not care if you lose units, really. So long as you're dominant offensively, that's fine. And you can play very aggressively and creatively in Advance Wars, whereas in like Fire Emblem or a lot of other strategy games, you got to make sure you're not losing units. And I think that really like unlocks a kind of fun with the game that I just don't have with a lot of other tactics games. But Mario and Rabbids has that. There's a lot of like careening around the battlefield deliberately colliding with things, setting off chain reactions. Even though you've only got 3 units, it adds up to a lot of creativity, and I really liked that too. And I'll throw, obviously I liked it less than Breath of the Wild, but I will throw Tears of the Kingdom on this list too. But I think that's actually, I was trying to think about it. Like, I can see Robert furiously scrolling through lists of releases on his phone, Angie trying to write down things she wants to say. But like, I spent some time thinking about this before the podcast, and that was like the list I came up with of like Switch exclusives. There's obviously a ton of other stuff I played on the system, but for like Switch exclusives, like those were the big ones for me.
Yeah.
Angie, I'm afraid it's come back around to you.
Yeah, perfect timing, because I think I've just finished my list. In terms of Switch exclusives, the ones that I could remember, the last ones, I can't not talk about Hyrule Warriors. I played both of them. I think I put somewhere between like 120, 130 hours into each of them. Those were unbelievably fun.
It's just because Link's so pretty in both of them.
Well, I mean, he's quite handsome in the first one.
I think that's why Robert spent so much time with Luigi's Mansion, to be fair. You've all got your green Romeos that draw you back.
Dashing in green.
Yeah, so those games are actually what made me want to give Dynasty Warriors Origins a chance, because I realized how much I loved... Tom's over here making fun of me. Because I loved Hyrule Warriors so much. But they're both like super fun, super solid games. And then the second one, I can't remember what the second one's called.
Age of Calamity.
Yeah, Age of Calamity. Actually is, you can think of it as essentially like it gives like alternate history, like prequel history, whatever, to Breath of the Wild. And it's kind of interesting when you think of it, because like I don't know that the game is necessarily considered canon, but it definitely tells a lot of like really significant history as it relates to Breath of the Wild. So it's kind of strange if it's not considered canon. Just, without getting too much into the history of the game, but really solid games.
Last thing this series needed was another timeline split.
Yeah, basically. maybe that's why they don't want to consider it canon, but it definitely complicates things, I'll just say that. But yeah, very solid games. And then Emio, the Smiling Man, Famicom Detective Club. I went into that game with no expectations, and then ended the game sobbing. So, and I'd never really played like many of these like interactive. I don't think I've ever played an interactive novel game like that, and absolutely wasn't expecting the game to touch on the subject matter it did and have the story that it did. Very good game. It sort of made me curious, I guess, about the other ones, but I don't think the other ones probably will hit quite as hard as this one did. So, but still, it was a fantastic game. And then Tetris 99. I love Tetris, but having that competitive aspect and you're playing against 98 other players, super fun. And it's unbelievably addictive. Like it's just you over and over again. You're like, no, like I need another hit. I need another game. I can do it this time. I can be number one. And then like, I'm in the top 5. Oh, I'm in the top 3. I can be number 1. Like it's so fun. And then having the different themes that you can unlock periodically. And then, like the blocks have like artwork based on that theme. And then there's artwork in the background. And then the music is like, based on that theme is really cool. And then, I had mentioned that I played a lot of indie games and third-party games on this console too. And this is the console I played Cuphead on. And I played a lot of Cuphead on this. Got extremely angry playing Cuphead on this. I almost beat Cuphead. I have not beat it, but I got very far into the game and really, came to appreciate how beautiful it is and how well made that game is. And also played Hotline Miami. I beat it, got all the way to the end. I remember I stayed up till dawn playing that game. I was just unbelievably just in the zone and frustrated and angry. But it's just like a gaming memory that's very strong in my mind. I had played Ruiner on the PS4, but I played it again on the Switch, got it on the Switch because I love that game so much. And it, and I've talked about this before, but unlocked my love of like the overhead twin stick shooter. And that's why I played Hotline Miami. It's why I played Ocho, which is another game that I just really loved on the Switch. And then played Yakuza Kiwami. I played Zero on the PlayStation 4, and then wanted to play Kiwami once it came out on Switch. So,
nice list.
Yeah, a lot of indie and third party love.
Well, I'm gonna try to avoid some of that stuff because just thinking about like what specifically made Switch special, because it's just the list is endless. I mean, just the third party stuff, it just goes and goes and goes. I will mention, though, Streets of Rage 4 and Shredder's Revenge. Those are two of my favorite games on the console. Streets of Rage 4, like, there's certain games that have pandemic memories, because I believe that came out during the pandemic, just like how Animal Crossing was a pandemic game. Like, I remember going on dates with my ex-girlfriend in the game world. Like, we'd be like, well, we can't see each other because we're in lockdown, but, like, let's hang out in the game. So, like, that was pretty special. Nintendo Labo, the only one I got was the VR headset, and that was pretty fun. Other than Kirby Forgotten Land, the other two Kirby games on the platform are really good. Star Allies is actually fairly fun. It's a little convoluted with the extra characters, but it's really beautiful, and it's just a fun 2D Kirby adventure. But then Kirby's Return to Dreamland, the remaster, that's actually really good. The Xenoblade games are pretty solid on Switch. There's one I love, especially because Nintendo, the only original F-Zero they've given us has been F-Zero 99. But Fast Remix by Shinen. These are the guys that made like Jet Rocket on the Wii.
Did they make Iridian?
And Iridian, on the Game Boy. So they're pretty good at like cranking out visuals, like on underpowered hardware. They also did The Tourist, I believe, which is another fun
The Tourist
game on Switch.
That was fun. You didn't like The Tourist, Zach?
That game was great.
What's wrong with The Tourist?
Anyway, Fast Remix is like an F-Zero type, and man, I just remember it being so visually like impressive, but also fun. Like it legitimately has a good mechanical, kind of gimmick thing going on where you switch between colors to hit different boosts and all that. So that's a solid one. There was one that was just in my head. I would like to comment on Tetris 99. I love that game. Like, I didn't know there was anything left to do with Tetris. And then Tetris 99 comes out, and it's just like, oh, okay, so you're giving me Tetris DS, which was fun because it had all the Nintendo themes, and now you're throwing in a competitive side to it. Just great. I absolutely adore that game. I wish they'd come out with themes a little bit more often. But speaking of Advance Wars, I think the remake was pretty cool. Fire Emblem has been good on Switch. I actually have not gotten to Engage, but Three Houses was fun. And then I actually liked Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 a lot. Like, the characters are pretty cool looking. It's a giant roster of characters. It's a little bit... It can get daunting in terms of, like, trying to unlock and max out your characters. Like, it's just, like, a lot of grinding, unless I'm just doing it wrong. But overall, it's a really fun game.
That's one they never put on anything else, huh? It's a Switch exclusive. Yeah.
Yep. They never put it anywhere. It's pretty good. Pikmin 3, I remember playing on Wii U and getting to the end and not knowing I was at the end. Because I played it on the Switch, and I remember getting to the point where I was in the Wii U, and I was like, oh, okay, I caught up to where I was in the other one.
Next
and
level was over.
And I was done. I was like, oh, that was it. That freaky gold thing's the final boss. But Pikmin 3 is a really fun, clever game. Pikmin 4 I still need to play. There's a game called Part-Time UFO. It was a mobile title. It's made by HAL, right? So the people that make Kirby. It was like a sub-studio, like HAL Egg or something like that. But you are moving stuff around as a little alien, like in a flying saucer. And so it's like kind of physics-based where you have to grab stuff and drag it around on the screen. That's a super fun, massively underappreciated game. I think Game Builder Garage deserves a shout-out because it's a nice introduction to game design, especially because it has sort of like a node system, which is what you use in Unreal Engine. So if you're interested in game design, it's actually a good starting point. Shout out, we got a new Pokemon Snap game on the system. I think people forget new Pokemon Snap, which was pretty fun. Not the greatest, but not as memorable as the original, but a worthwhile sequel.
That was in Zach's top 5, I think, that year. Am I wrong? Oh.
I'm trying to close it out here. I had fun with Nintendo Switch Sports. I don't know why it just didn't become part of our regular rotation, but...
Sorry, there was a Nintendo Switch Sports?
Yeah, it was their version of Wii Sports. It was fun. It's just... Some
I
of the
feel like the
sparks
Wii,
missing.
I think it might have been the simplicity of the Wii version. The OG Wii Sports.
Yeah.
That was part of it,
Yeah.
I think.
Plus, the Mii's made Wii Sports really
Yeah.
as iconic as it was.
True.
And then, like, there's some... there were very particular Mii's. Like, I can't remember his name. He's like the black guy that you can compete against.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I know you can bowl against him. He has a name, but like I don't know if he was in the Switch version. But like stuff like that made the original version just like super fun and hilarious. And when you take that away, it's not quite as appealing. Yeah.
I don't know if it was mentioned like thoroughly, but Mario Wonder is good. Like, it's a really solid 2D Mario platformer. I think its only real sin is it does not have a memorable soundtrack. Like, the best music in that game is the retreads of the old music. But that's a fun game. It's really beautiful. The new voice actor for Mario does a great job. Like, you honestly don't even know that Martinet is gone. The remake of Mario RPG is another memorable one. They really did a good job of capturing the spirit of that game. Other than some annoying changes to names and stuff, it's pretty faithful. And then just finally, like a personal favorite, I really love Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I think it's funny because this is a remake of a remake. Because Donkey Kong 94 was remade as Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and then Mario vs. Donkey Kong was remade on Switch. So it's like the third time we've gotten this game, but I never knew that game existed. Like, as someone who had a subscription to Nintendo Power just like forever, that game came out, I had no idea. I just found it at a GameStop one day when I was in college, and I'm like, Mario versus Donkey Kong. I'm like, what the heck is this? And so I took it home, and I was blown away because it was 2D, but Mario's doing like handstands, and he's doing like, you know, these flips and all these other things. I'm like, he's so acrobatic in a 2D space. It just felt like this brilliant extrapolation of his 3D moves in a 2D game. And then I found out later that it was a remake of Donkey Kong 94, and I'm like, somebody was doing this shit on a Game Boy? This is incredible. So shout out to that game. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I actually completely forgot about the remake of that game on Switch. It was really, really fun. I had only played a little bit of it on Game Boy Advance, and then when I played it on Switch, I was like, wow, I was really missing out by not playing this on the Game Boy Advance, because it was a lot of fun. It's super cute. And yeah, the things you can do with Mario are a lot of fun. And as you get farther into the game, the puzzles are really like brain teasers. So no,
I got pretty far in that game too.
It's a great game.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I want to say one last thing, and then I'll stop. I do think, because like in terms of the third-party games, one of the things that makes this system so special is its accessibility. Like, it's so easy to just boot up and use. Like, you know, Zack and Dom dealing with like a Steam Deck and then like a ROG, right? But just like, if you think about it, like a Switch, it's like, yeah, it does system updates. It's not very often, right? The games update, not super often. Like, for the most part, it's like the system's just always ready to go. And it seamlessly goes from portable to home, right? So I feel like because of that, the third-party games that have been on it, I've been more inclined to want to try just by virtue of it being on Switch.
Low friction.
Yeah, I mean, like, Persona 5 is one. Like, I know Persona 5 plays and looks better on, like, a PS5, for example. But it plays pretty well on a Switch, and it's so easy to just grab it, and I can throw it on the TV, or I can play it in my hands. So that was my introduction to Persona 5, was because it was on Switch. And I think that has been the case for a lot of people with some of the games that came to the handheld.
There's an interesting corollary with that, which is that because I think you're right about that, like kind of like, oh, I'll just grab my Switch and play a little something, right? But I feel like the games that I get the most out of are ones that I actually more intentionally commit to. I've had this problem come up a few times on Switch where like I start something and then I put it down and like I don't know if it's like because it's easy to pick up, I don't prioritize picking it up, if that makes sense. Whereas like when I'm playing something on PS5 or PC, it's more like I'm thinking like I'm going to get home and I'm going to accomplish these objectives in this game and like getting myself more into that headspace, like as a necessity, I think because it's higher friction. But you're right, like it does make it much more inviting in the moment to like pick up and just put something on.
There's been times where like I've put on my PS5 or my Xbox and like I go to play something and then it's like update and I'm just like, oh, and then I look and it's like gigs and I'm just like, never mind, I'm not playing this tonight.
I will say, Robert, one game I expected you to mention that you didn't is the first 10 minutes of Donkey Kong Country 2.
I have beaten those games multiple times.
Yeah, but you've
very much.
started up that low friction startup of Donkey Kong Country 2.
Well,
I've
there's
seen happen, I swear,
nothing to
30
play,
times.
And I just need something to mindlessly zoom through. The Donkey Kong games are there. All three, thank you. 1, 2, and 3.
No, it's Gangplank Galleon every time. Dom, did you have any others you wanted to go through?
Nope, I'm good.
Cool.
Yep.
For me, I will say that like in retrospect, I see the Switch mostly in terms of its first party games and those ones that I mentioned. But I do want to call out that there are like some others at this table mentioned, like a lot of indie games that I played on Switch and enjoyed on Switch. Cuphead, Hollow Knight, Celeste, Blasphemous.
Celeste.
Also Meat Boy, I'd never played back in the day and played through on Switch. Ruined King, a League of Legends story. It's pretty good. Played that on Switch. And this does not qualify as an indie game. I could have played it on something else and I didn't. But the Mega Man Legacy Collection is more than just a ROM pack. There are like modes in specifically Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 where it remixes and juxtaposes a lot of bits of those old Mega Man games. And it is like a kind of experience that you don't get from just playing the original games. So that was actually some of the most fun I had on the Switch was playing Mega Man Legacy Collection 1. And yeah, I also did get a lot of mileage out of sort of like 360 era games thereabouts that I was playing on the Switch.
Limbo's on Switch and Inside.
Yeah, that's not those aren't on my list. Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Revelations 2, Dark Souls, a compromised but fun port of The Witcher 3. And I played some of the Assassin's Creed games on there too. Black Flag I thought was really good. So yeah, I think probably a smaller, quicker list for me than the siblings over here. But still, it was a good time. Final question to wrap up is just where does the Switch land among Nintendo systems for you? All-time favorite, top 3, is it a Hall of Famer for you? Anyone who's ready to answer that, go ahead.
It's pretty close to being 1. I think my favorite system is still DS. Like, I was going through and cataloging my games recently, and I have like 200 DS games. I think more than 200. And like the Switch, though, I definitely have more than 200.
Yeah, I was gonna say Switch
like,
probably have more.
I was shocked because I was like, my DS collection's always been the biggest, but then I'm going through the Switch, I'm like, man, I have 200 Switch games, and that's just the physical games. Like, that doesn't even include all the digital stuff that I have too.
Yeah, if we're rating based on financial damage, the Switch has to be number 1 for you.
But like in terms of like attachment and all that, like, I don't know, it's weird. It's like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is like I said, I think of my favorite Switch games, but like that's up there. It's like it and Smash. It's just in terms of the constant, I play it and love it and enjoy it, right? So I'm thinking, I wonder if Switch really is my favorite. It's just I haven't had enough time to be away from it. But as of right now, I would say it's probably in the 2 slot, maybe the 3 slot, because I have a soft spot for GameCube. So it's like probably DS, maybe Switch, maybe GameCube, maybe Switch, maybe GameCube. That would be my top 3, I would say.
GameCube is actually my number one, but there's a lot of nostalgia there. So GameCube and Switch is my second favorite, but it's close with the Game Boy Advance. Yeah, so I think those are my top three: GameCube, Switch, GBA.
I think the order for me is SNES, Switch, and then GameCube and N64 are tied for 3 for me.
I have the Switch farther down. I'm sure nostalgia is a factor, but I would put both the NES and the Super Nintendo above it. And depending on the day, maybe the Wii above it, but also like probably the DS and the GBA. I have a lot of like specific games that I can think of that I really like. I think for me, the Switch, like it does have a few exclusives that I really like, that I've gone over. But for me, it's more like I feel like the Switch is going to feel fully obsoleted by the Switch 2 in a way that I don't think is true for a lot of past Nintendo systems. I think part of it is those older systems for me have more of an identity, and the Switch just kind of feels like an all-purpose console to some degree. Having said that, I really like the Switch. Like all these systems I like. I don't think it even makes top 5 for me. I'm out of questions. I'm out of things to say.
I'd just like to point out, I forgot to mention I was playing Blueprints. That's a really good game.
Oh, okay.
People should play Blueprints. Have you played it yet?
I started it.
Yeah,
It's a real interesting concept.
Yeah.
I like it so far. No, I mean, there's too much to play. I haven't had a chance to like really sit and play it.
I got to the final room.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Is that the same as beating it?
Kinda. Like you can keep going, but like that game was great. It's funny. It feels so sinister as you're going through the mansion. Like I kept waiting for some horrible thing to happen. I was like, there's gonna be some freak peeking at me, or some thing's gonna crawl out of something and try to kill me. Instead, it's just, you're just alone in this giant mansion. So if you haven't played it, the goal is you have to get to this secret, I think it's the 46th room in a mansion. You're playing on a grid, basically. And so you are building rooms to get to the final room, but like you don't have control over what rooms are generated. It's like 3 at a time, and they branch off like puzzle pieces. Like one room leads left, one room leads left, right, and up, and so you have to keep trying to chain them to get to that final room. And like there's a lot more to it, but that's a great game.
Yeah, you have to play it to really grasp what Rob is saying. It took me like 3-4 times to realize that when you're putting your house together, how many times I pinned myself against the wall.
Yep, you accidentally lead just into nothing. Yep.
It's like, I have to restart.
Has a really cool art style. It's absolutely worth a play. If you have Game Pass and if you have PlayStation Plus, it's on there, so you technically don't have to pay for it. It's just part of your monthly dues, but great game.
Thanks,
Is that
everyone.
sponsored?
Robert's got a lot of sponsors if the games he mentions are the result of sponsor deals. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Nintendo, for the Nintendo Switch. And we'll talk to you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.